I had to go live because you guys are giving away the good stuff.
I don't know if you can still see me because I'm doing crazy stuff.
Well, they can hear you, but they can't see you doing. So put away the drugs, all that stuff.
Oh Lord!
I'm just. Oh, it's gonna be
really.
Oh, it's gonna be terrible. Terrible.
All right. Everything's
hidden.
Kidding.
Well, I just got to figure out how to turn off the music. Hey, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're at in the world. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us for Mic'd Up with Mike and Friends. Today, I am with Dr. Yvonne, Deb Curtis, and a longtime friend of mine, Reyna Hoerdeman. Please don't hold that against her. It's not about judgment or anything. It's political because we got a lot of friends in common. Ladies, I hope you're all doing well today, and thanks for joining me. You guys doing
real well.
Yeah, very good. Thank you
for having us.
First of all, I want to say thank you for Deb for being here today, the correct day and time. I asked her to join us on this show yesterday, and I have ADHD, people, so I don't always tell people things correctly or coherently all at one time via chat. And I neglected to tell her it was on Saturday, and she thought she was coming to my rescue yesterday. And then I wasn't paying attention to my messages, so it's like half an hour later. It's like, where's the link? I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like the worst human being ever. So Deb, thanks for the grace. I appreciate you being here.
Of course. Yeah. Gotta be flexible.
Yeah, well,
Good job, Mike. Good job.
Yeah, terrible. So, Deb, I guess I'll give you the first chance to speak today since I did that to you yesterday. You want to go ahead and introduce yourselves to everybody briefly? Let us know what you're doing.
Yes. Well, I am Deb Curtis, and I live and work out of my home. I am employed, but I also like to think of my paycheck and my incentive as entrepreneurial as well, because I actually get to meet with people that want to exit corporate America, perhaps to acquire a small business. So if that's what you're looking for, Mike, you want to know what I do, or where do you want to go? Tell me.
Well, we're going to get back into that a little bit, but essentially, you help finance entrepreneurs that want to buy or start a business, correct?
Yes, that actually buy. I don't do startups. What I do is help people buy a business, a small business that's been around for 2 or more years. It's profitable, cash flowing, and they want to exit corporate America, or maybe they're actually retiring early corporate America and they want to buy a business and be their own boss and take over the show. So what's fascinating
doing serious financing. I'm sorry. So you're doing serious financing. Yep. So somebody can't just buy a business unless you can prove 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt that they qualify for the business both financially and as a business owner. Is that correct?
That's correct. Both the seller side has to qualify their financials, and the buyer side, their down payment, their credit, all that good stuff. And there's so many different ways for me to coach the buyers and mentor them to get to the point where they're eligible. It's not just like applying for a car loan. You're one and done. Here's your application. Here's your car. There's a lot of coaching that I do to help people that want to buy a business and finance it, because the package is big. It's a government-backed loan, and there's a lot of paperwork and there's a lot of structuring that people don't know would help you to acquire a business and finance it. You don't have to do it alone. There's options to structure the ownership differently. Maybe you don't have enough cash to put the minimum requirement in yourself. We can give you ideas. I'll give you solutions how to get there. So my message is it's all about solutions, creativity, and execution. And, if I was to ask Dr. Yvonne or Reyna, do you know how to buy a business? Do you know what it all takes to buy one, finance one? Probably not. I bet you they know how to start up one.
I would actually tell you, yes, I do. I do.
Deb, I might have walked into the fire here because these guys are not the avatar. I did stack the deck here with serious professional women in business today, guys.
Awesome.
The reason why I'm doing this is not so you guys do business with each other, but so everyone sees how awesome you guys are at what you do, right? And reach out to you comfortably. So if I get one person, okay, to call any of you 3 people, whether it's to get fit, whether it's to have some great shrimp on channel 2 or to buy a business, I've done my job. And if I don't have all 3 of you block me at the end, I've done a great job and I feel great about myself. So
I'm not going to block you,
Deb. I'm sure Dr.
Just
Yvonne
for a day, and then I'll open it back up. You know?
Okay, yeah, that's good.
So she's been watching me on Facebook and how I do people. So she's going to give me a little bit of Michael Connor payback justice, huh? Okay,
well,
I get it.
The good news. I'm sure you girls are running awesome businesses, and one day you'll want to maybe sell it and retire. Well, I help those buyers finance your business, and yay! I mean, that's fantastic because you grew your business. It's profitable. It's cash flowing. You have an income, and now we can pass on your legacy to someone else that wants to buy it, so you can spend time.
Don't think about that when they're building a business. They don't think about actually selling it.
That's true, because one thing is, especially when it's a startup business, let alone an existing business, they don't think about their, well, I call it exit or escape plan. See, people start, whether there's a startup or existing, people are thinking about how to get that business going, how to get it popping, how to get it out, how to brand themselves, marketing, all that kind of stuff. Well, they don't think about it. They have someone coaching them, but the pointers that they need to really touch base on. But no one ever lets them know, hey, if it's going to be 5 years down the line, or maybe it's going to be a year down the line, or maybe it's a cash cow and you had a limited scope as far as the business, but you don't have an out. What is your out? So that's really important. Yeah. That's part of the planning.
Everybody needs that, and it was, my dad wasn't the perfect dad, right? But some things he did great. And one of the things that, Reyna will tell you, I had, when Pat and I used to drive, he's my twin brother, Patrick. We used to drive to school with trucks and trailers. We used to have the landscaping truck. I had the crew with the wheelbarrows on the back of my trailer, and Pat had the lawn mowing stuff. So piles of grass. Nobody would park around our cars for like 20 car lengths because it smelled so bad, right? But one thing he said to us as kids is, if you're going to build a business, build it to sell. And most people don't get that instructions, because 80% of the businesses in the world, don't sell and you never know when you're going to need to sell. Life events happen. You never know, when government's going to make you want to sell. Deb, you brought up coaching and training. Let me ask you, do you charge for these coaching trainings, or do you do this to guide people toward buying a business, making some money when you do the financing? Is that kind of like how that works?
Correct. Yep. I coach and train them. There's business plan that has to be done, 3-year projections with assumptions. There's a lot of paperwork, and just giving someone an empty package and saying go is not going to help them get approved by the writer. So I will coach them through the beginning stages. Most often, these buyers will go to a business broker, and all they're interested, the business broker, is show me your cash. How much cash do you have in your 100%. Account? Because they think, that's the only way they're going to.
Which is really not doing the seller any good, So you're not really representing your client unless you're actually trying to do everything you can to move heaven and hell if you have to sell that business. Yeah. So if you're turning away buyers, look, as a business broker, right? In any business, like, it doesn't matter if it's just business brokers. I don't want to just pick on the people in this industry, right? Because this advice applies to everybody. Don't walk around seeing this when you can just take the blinders off and see down the road a little bit, right? Because, say Deb brings you, Reyna, and Reyna doesn't have the cash to buy your business, right? But she might finance your business. If you're not a jerk to Reyna, she might know Bob, Sue, Phil, or somebody else that might buy your business, right? But if you're a jerk to her, she's not going to send Bob, Sue, or Phil to whoever to buy your business, right? And who knows? Right. Maybe if you're nice to her down the road, she can help you in some other way. And that just works in networking in general. It's kind of like what Ira tells people, tells me to bring this up more. It's kind of like needing a plumber. You don't call a plumber at 2 a.m. to make him a friend. You make a friend at the plumber when you see him at your kid's baseball game. You go buy the guy a hot dog. You're like, hey, you're a plumber, right? I don't really need any coffee right now, but it's good to know you. Have a great day. Enjoy
Yeah.
the hot dog. And then you leave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how you go, right? You know, it's the same thing. So I think your strategy with coaching people to buy a business, them is it's brilliant on a lot of levels. Because even if that person doesn't buy a business, it works the same way as with advice toward the seller. You never know who that person's going to bring you. I mean, it's just positivity, what you put out in the world and how you help people comes back to you. A lot of people ask me all the time, hey, well, first of all, why are you stupid enough to build a website that you think can compete with Facebook? And secondly, they ask me, why do I do so much coaching with people? It's because like it brings me a whole bunch of positive goodwill. Like if you do it consistently, day in, day out, over and over again, I mean, all of a sudden life gets a lot easier.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because my dad, who was your teacher, Mike, and my dad's name is Mike, he always told me, like, you never know, whenever you meet somebody, you never know who they are. And that's one of the things that he was like, so you need to treat everybody like kindly and with respect. He's like, you just never know who you're talking to. And I think we see that a lot, you know, when people walk into places and like, they're like, oh, do you have enough money to be in here? And it's like, they're just, you know, it's like a lot of like the NBA, NFL players, you know, like in their sweats and they're just like, all right, I'm going to leave now and go to somewhere else and, you know, buy a car and walk out in cash. But thank you for being a jerk. I appreciate it, you know, so it goes a long way. And I actually just had a situation. I'm looking for elder care attorneys. So anybody here?
Well, that sounds like a fun thing to
Looking
deal
for
with.
elder care attorneys, and my sister and I got on a call, and it's a very special matter, right? So it's beyond the normal scope of things. This is a very special thing for my sister and I, and we have a 30-minute consultation, and the assistant puts us through. Somebody else picks up the line. Then it starts ringing. Then we get no one. I call back and I get some guy named Joe. I don't even know who this person is. And that's actually his name. And he goes, oh, I'm like, we have an appointment with blah, blah, blah. Oh, well, she's not here right now. Oh, so she's not in for her scheduled consultation. Yeah, I'll let her know you called. Okay, thanks. And then that was that. Like, I'm done.
Well, I mean, wouldn't they?
lost the
They didn't
client.
say she was in court or anything.
No,
Like they didn't say she was like in court, because sometimes court cases run over. But
And
then you're supposed to tell the prospective client.
Well, I
They
mean,
didn't
just
say anything.
the nonchalantness of it's what's outstanding.
Yeah.
Oh, it was.
So I don't know if you guys heard my divorce story.
Horrifying.
So when I went to
Horrifying. Like,
divorce,
at what point he didn't ask me any questions. I said, so she's not available for her scheduled consultation.
they don't care at all. Like, no, you know.
No, I'll let her know you called. What's your name?
And people wonder why they don't like attorneys.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Even the attorney that referred me to her, and I'm sure she's wonderful, but he even jokes. He's like, I get it. I don't want to be around attorneys, and I am an attorney. And
that's why I quit doing real estate.
Yeah. It was a bad experience, but they've now called me back, not only the attorney personally and her assistant, and just like kind of rambled on my voicemail. And I'm like, I don't need to hear anything from you. Like, the way that was handled was really poor. You could be the best elder care attorney in the world, but my sister and I are making this decision, and my sister is peeved. She's in corporate America. So maybe one day she'll talk to you, Deb, because I don't know, feel like it's definitely taken a toll on her. That's for sure. But it's that was my introduction to this company. No questions, no, so you're signed up with her today. Can you hold on a second? What can I do for you? I mean, no questions whatsoever.
And those people make a lot of money to answer those phone calls. You know what I mean? To represent that company. You know what I mean?
Well, they treat people the way they want to be treated. You know, I tell a lot of my clients, but I also tell people that I mentor, right? Because mentoring it's the bread and butter of the future. All right. So things that you do does not necessarily have to have a price tag attached. You see,
100%.
because whatever knowledge you can bring, when you receive knowledge is to share. It's not to hoard. So that's how you determine a good leader. That's how you determine a good business. That's how you determine, a good parent in many cases. And I'm a mom, right? We have to teach our kids, right? If we don't teach our kids, we keep all the knowledge and we say, okay, we'll do it. Okay, we're dead now. Do they know how to do anything? Do they know how to clean? Do they know how to cook? Do they know how, no, because you don't know how to delegate, and you don't know how to teach. So mentoring, all those things are implicit when you have knowledge. It is your duty to share.
Agreed.
And, you can't always have a dollar attached, right? So for me, it was kind of unlearning the fact that I share. Like, I'm not in competition with you or anybody else. If you want to put me in competition, hey, that's on you. Bye. But if you want to deal with me the way that I want to deal with you, then the knowledge I have, we're going to share it. But don't think you're going to come pick my brain and take food off my kid's table because you don't want to pay me for the knowledge that I have spent a million years to get. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're in my mentoring program, I'm not asking you for anything. I'm there for you because you fit certain criterias.
That's how I am with SPN, and people look at me like, oh, I don't want to join that site. It's funny. It's like, oh, you want my coaching, right? Well, go join my website. And then they get mad because I put that stipulation on it, right? Like, I'm not charging you anything. Like, sometimes I even tell them, I'll make the account for you. Just give me your email address and permission to use your pictures. I'll go ahead and make it.
Why do they not want to join? I'm very confused.
People get
curious about that too.
I want to know, like,
I think it comes down to ego.
Oh, so here's more exposure. Oh no, I don't want any of that. That
no,
makes
you guys,
like, what are they scared of success or scared of money or what's going on?
You guys have no idea the stories and the excuses and the things I've heard from the people too, right? Like, I've heard people with 1 million plus followers to people with 30 followers, right? Like, if you have 30 followers or 1 million, like, what blows my mind, right, is the guys with a couple 100,000 followers that get 3 likes a post, right? I won't dive into how they built their network and why they don't.
Oh, I will. They bought them.
Well, no, it's not even that. Well, okay.
If that engagement is that low, though, coming from somebody who does social media,
well, here's the thing, right?
My engagement is very low. My engagement is low, but when I look at my algorithms, they're off the charts. I mean, so there's some people that are watching.
Let's keep it real. You know why that is, right?
Yeah, they don't want to admit anything, and they don't want me to know that they're watching. But hey, stupid, I know.
You're a strong Black woman with the doctor title, your PhD. You put out the gold nuggets, right? So people are watching you to pick your brain, like you said, right?
Like I said,
giving you the credit without giving you money, and God knows they don't want to give you an engagement because that's going to give you more shine. And the last thing they want to do is give you any shine. They want to keep you in your spot, right? But
oh my God.
Here's the thing, right? People ask me why I do the things I do, and I don't want to sound like a pretentious jerk, right? But I learned a long time ago the truth is the truth, and I'm just going to say it. And people don't like it, just tune out, right? But I don't hold people down. I don't ask for much. Join my site, right? I'll give you the coaching, right? I don't put a fee on it, even though I think people should get paid for what they do, and everybody's experiences, you know what I mean? Like, I'm doing a different thing. I'm trying to get pay-per-click advertisement going. I'm trying to get sponsors, right? So by doing that, I got to give away a lot of sunshine. I got to be that guy who goes out and shakes babies and kiss his hands or does whatever, right? I got to be that entertaining dude, right? I got to step outside my comfort zone, right? But what I don't have to do is be pretentious or act like I'm better than other people. And I cannot let other people act like they're better than me.
And you.
If most people walked around thinking to themselves, hey, I'm going to treat you like you treat me, but I'm going to make sure you treat me like I want to be treated, this world would be a lot better spot, right? Mm-hmm. And like I was hoping not to dive into the Ukraine thing, but it bothers me to my soul.
I can't. I honestly, I saw some okay, so when I got pregnant, right, when I was already deep in corporate America, I was sitting on many boards. I still sit on several, but they're for different reasons, except for my one main one, which is my major give back, and it is domestic violence. And when you say that people don't want to see me shine, you know, God hides diamonds. He hides gold. He hides everything that is precious in plain sight. And then he watches and he wants to see how that thing, like take, for example, the diamond, right? It's dirty. It's not shined up. It just looks like a piece of coal, right? So that you toss it away, you discard it. The next person comes up, they look at it, they take it up, they shine it. Woo, it is like the biggest diamond ever found. But you discarded it. You discarded the blessing that was given to you.
Listen to this. I saw a thing. This is a true story, right? Just the other day, I watched this. Blew my mind. This dude got convicted for a crime he did not commit. Spent 23 years in prison. Got divorced by his wife. She didn't believe him, thought he was guilty, whatever the story was. I don't know what she thought, but she divorced the dude, right? They found out he's not guilty. He's innocent. He gets out of prison. They give him $1 million. Years later, after the divorce, she sued him for some of that money.
Wow.
Greedy.
She didn't get it.
And she's not entitled to it. She's not entitled to it. So, I mean, who cares? She can do all she wants. Not entitled.
But think about that. Think about
it's what is right with people. Like that's asinine. That's like, you know, people saying that Jeff Bezos' wife shouldn't have gotten money. Do you know why Amazon exists?
People will say all kinds of crap. The reason why I want to do this chat with you, and I feel like I'm talking too much here because you guys all got so much to say, right? Is because people don't want to hear what a lot of women have to say, and they just like shut you guys up, right? And they use straw man arguments, they use gaslighting tactics, and they don't just do it with straw man on social media, right? We see countries, we see leaders of a country right now doing it to the whole world, right? If some guy can comfortably, go out and invade another country and then gaslight everybody about it. I mean, the president of Ukraine has Jewish parents. People in his family were killed in the Holocaust, but he's being called a Nazi, right? And here's the thing: is very few people.
His mother was Jewish, so I mean, he was on an extermination thing, you know.
The unfortunate part is that if Hitler actually used his powers for good,
then it would be then we would be even further. But Mike, I want to say something about the comment that you made about being a Black woman and, you know, like worth and all of that, right? Yeah. So a lot of the women that come to me, first of all, let me do a little caveat. So I'm an immigrant, right? I came here when I was like 1.5. I am Caribbean. And when I came here, we were not welcomed by people that look like me. All right. And so that is another thing on top. How wild is that? I mean, they literally go back to your country, go eat your stinking bananas. You know, who do you think you are? You know, the green eyes or whatever. I mean, it was torture. And people don't know that. But here's the thing. I come from good stock. All right. I don't play that. I know. You know, I don't play that. So you're not going to tell me what to do. And neither is anybody else. And I don't care what they look like. Because my father told me I could be whatever I want to be. And guess what? That's what I'm going to do. So you can't tell me anything. Anyway.
Hold up. But
no.
I got to find the whole. I love your dad. I never met the man, but your dad was a good dad. I can already.
He was a really good dad. Yeah. He died a couple of years ago.
We got to talk about that point. I'm sorry.
My mom is celebrating her 3rd birthday in 67 years without my dad on Monday. So it's not, it's kind of a hard weekend and I'm trying to get there. But anyway, they don't want to pay you. They don't want to pay women. They have a thing about paying Black women, but they don't have a thing coming to you right? And saying, I know that you do blah, 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 blah. And I know that you've opened, 25 businesses or, all this other stuff, all the accolades. But right now I can't really afford you. That's the first argument, right? Then they disappear, right? After they pick your brain. Then all of a sudden you find out they're working with the white guy, right? That does what I do, probably not as good as I do it. He might do it okay, but I know that I do it good. So they'll go pay him, and they'll pay him more.
Isn't that just a kick in
So
the-
I had to learn when to draw the brakes about sharing knowledge. Because see,
People
I was
wonder why
free.
people like us have boundaries, and they wonder why we're so quick to say buzz off, right?
Everybody
That's
needs
why.
boundaries.
And well, here's the thing, right? If more people had boundaries, we'd all get more shit done, and
Yep.
there'd be a lot less people out
Exactly.
there trying to take
Oh, yeah.
advantage of people. Look, I'm not gonna get into the whole like I hate the influencer people that say I'll make you an influencer, right? Like like
I'm an influencer.
no, I'm talking about, but you don't sell like I'm a master course and I'll make you an influencer in 30 days.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about? Like
No, people pay
buy
me.
my course and I'll make you an influencer in 28 days or less, right?
Yeah,
Like
no.
I don't want to get into that, right? But to just highlight a story about like how much people won't say or do the right thing, right? This guy calls me up and he's like, "Hey, Mike, I want to apologize to you." And I said, "Okay, sir." I'm not going to name his name because I'm not that guy, right? But I'm like, "How can I help you? What do you need to apologize for? I didn't know you were doing anything." He's like, "Well, I've been bad-mouthing you to everybody in private messages." Told me this on the phone. Called me up out of the blue. Random LinkedIn connection. Been my LinkedIn connection for years. Never talked to him before this day, right? Calls me up, lets me know he's been bad-mouthing me for years to different people in different group messages because so-and-so, Mr. Influencer dude in Chicago, used to be a waiter, said that I was a bad guy, right? So he took him for his word, and he's like, I'm going to go badmouth Mike O'Connor to everybody. And so I don't know if you guys know my story, but I went through hell for 2 years with all these people, just harassing me all the time. So here's the one of the guys who's behind it, calling me up to let me know he's behind it, right? So instead of telling the guy go choke a chicken, or whatever, right? I was like, okay, well, why are you calling me? I'm confused. Where was the change? He's like, well, I bought that guy's master course for $4,000, right? And he told me he was going to make me an influencer, and he told me he was going to do this and do that, and I was going to do, X amount of business and get X amount of leads. Well, I just want to let you know that you were right. The guy ripped me off. I should have listened to you, but instead of listening to you, I went out and told everybody that you were wrong and that you were full of it. And I never had the opportunity to say I was sorry, so I figured I'd just call you now. I said, "Well, that's great, sir." I said, "Why don't you get on LinkedIn Live? I see you on LinkedIn Live all the time. And why don't you just tell everybody this story? Why don't you just tell everybody what's happening?" He goes, "Well, why?" He goes, "Why on earth would I do that?" I said, "Well, I don't know. So Mr. Influencer guy doesn't go out and sell $4,000 to Yvonne, Reyna, or whoever else down the street, right? Kind of like how we should kind of all stop Russia from, invading Ukraine because who's next? Right? Anyway, right? So my point, okay, I said, "Why don't you do this?" He goes, "Because they would just do the same thing to you that they did to me. He would just have 200 people go badmouth me to everybody. He would have 200 people tell everybody in the world that I'm a jerk, and he's still going to be an influencer guy. And here I am ruining my life." Right. So let me ask you a question. Right.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you didn't do the right thing.
Well, not only did he not do the right thing, right? He's still in that guy's influential circle. So not only did this guy rip you off $4,000 and you called to tell me this, right? But I still see you liking and commenting and engaging on this fool's posts because you're still trying to get likes on LinkedIn.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
No, that's why I'm not mentioning their names.
You're just dancing in two circles and you're not even being a real human being. Like when I see people like that, I honestly feel sorry for them because it must be exhausting.
I don't even feel sorry for them anymore.
Absolutely exhausting. I don't really feel sorry for them. Like
I did. I used to feel bad.
Actually saying that I do, but I'm just like, oh, must be like poopy to be you because like. To be exhausting and like living your life, not being true to who you are, right? Like, so he's telling you that he got ripped off and that he's sorry, but he's clearly not sorry enough to do the right thing. And then he also is still dancing with the devil because he's commenting and doing whatever. So he's he's now like just going back and forth. I feel like it reminds me of high school where you're like
every day, all day.
Like grow a pair. Like come
Oh,
on.
you know
the
get
Eleanor
that.
Roosevelt statement. What is it?
It doesn't
Small
matter.
minds discuss people.
Mhm.
Average minds discuss events. Great minds discuss ideas. So
I mean,
Love that.
it's just weird. Like, you know, here's the thing. We all got bills to pay. We all got people to feed. I like to eat. I like to pay my bills. You know what I mean? I like, you know, obviously I like to eat. You can tell by the cheeks, you know, the big dimples. You can always tell how much Mike's eating by how big my dimples are. But my
except
point
for in
is,
wrestling, when you're all starving yourselves.
I'm never going to do that again. I should have fought heavyweight because, like, you know, the abs were nice, but man, I was always hungry. And then I got my ass kicked in my last 3 fights.
These wrestlers, you guys were insane, man. I mean, just like turning green because you had to weigh in. And I'm like, are you going to make
it? You know, I think it was, I don't know if it was my fifth fight, right? I felt great. I talked to myself. I was on a UFC event, Dr. Yvonne in Chicago. They came to Chicago, and I'm the only guy they let speak on TV. I showed up my little amateur belt. I told all the UFC guys I want to punch him in the face, right? So then I wound up getting like into a fight at the Sears Center on 4 days' notice because of that. Because I gave him a pop because my brother was fighting on the card. So I got home. I had a large Big Mac meal and with the, you know, supersized Dr. Pepper and the fries, right? And I'll never forget this. I weighed 221 pounds because I always weighed myself before I got in the tub. Well, this guy Gabe had kicked my ass that day. At the time, he was fighting for Bellator. My ass was sore, my legs. So I got in an ice bath. I'm sitting here in an ice bath with 3 bags of ice and eating a Big Mac in the ice tub. And my phone rings and it's like, hey, it's so and so. You know, do you want to fight? And I'm like, yeah, totally. It's Sears Center.
Yeah.
I'll be on TV. You know. I'll drop 16 pounds in 3 days. No problem. Go ahead and do it. Right. And I couldn't get out of the bathtub. My girlfriend at the time's like, you can't even get out of the bathtub. You're in an ice pack, you know, trying to recover. I'm like, oh, I'll be fine. I felt great. Made it all the way through the weight cut, everything else, right? I knew I was fucked. I knew I was in trouble. When before the fight, I tried to touch my toes, you know, to do the stretch. And I'm a flexible guy. I can do the splits. I can kick door jams. I couldn't even get halfway down my shins because I was so restricted from the water and the sugar, or from the salt. You know, I couldn't even get. I won the first round 10-8, and then I was choking the guy at the end of the first round. And I'll never forget. When I rolled to get up at the end of the round, I couldn't stand up. I couldn't.
Wow.
I had to like crawl back to and then get up the cage. It was terrible. So anyway, Reyna, Studio Fit. It's a good time to talk about fitness.
Segue from.
Yeah. Now that I broke my own rule before, let's talk about fitness and healthy living and what you do.
Yeah. So I own a women's fitness studio, virtual and brick and mortar in Chicago. We help women. My whole thing is we help women with their fitness and nutrition goals in a sustainable fashion. So my ultimate goal is really to help women pave their journey, right? Create those good habits, stick to those good habits, because I just see so many things out there and it's like, you can do this, you know, like, I mean, think about it. You lost 16 pounds in 3 days, Mike? Mm-hmm. How sustainable is that?
It was terrible. I got my ass kicked for it and deserved every punch to the face I took.
No, but still, I mean, I talk to women constantly and it's tough because we all have busy lives and we're all doing things, whether you're a mom, whether you're, you know, especially if you're a working mom, it's just, there's a lot of things that we have to do in the day to day, and the pandemic didn't make it any easier, even though we're working from home and things like that. I think it just gave us more distractions, actually. And I think it kind of made us a little bit lazier, to be quite honest. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing women come in that, you know, and it's okay.
I feel a little bit lazier, I'll be honest. You know,
yeah, I mean, think about it.
Yesterday.
When you have the ability to work from home, right, there's a certain amount of discipline that you need to have in order to do so. When I started working, like when I started Queen Bee Media and I started working from home, I was like, I had to realize, like, okay, Reyna, you cannot turn the TV on in the middle of the day. Like, that is not going to get you where you need to be, you know? I actually started doing the Pomodoro technique for a while.
Okay, hold on one second. Hold up. We got to pause there because Dr. Yvonne, we got to play poker someday because you got the same tells I do, right? But your head tilted the same way too. What was the name of that technique?
I'd never be a good poker player.
Huh? No.
Same.
You may be a great cook.
Over my face.
We're gonna start talking about your cooking, but
people say something, and I'm like,
because we obviously both need to Google that. So
Pomodoro
technique.
Pomodoro. So it's like I don't know, people are like the tomato technique because when you Google it, there's like a giant tomato stopper. I don't know. So you work 25 minutes on, and then you take a 5-minute break. And you do that, and you can do anything for those 5 minutes. And you do that 4 times, and then you get an hour-long break.
Oh, I do that when I smoke weed.
I
didn't know I was I thought I was just having a good time. Okay. Keep telling me more.
Yeah. I mean, and you can do whatever you want. So it's like you work on a task for 25 minutes because our attention span is only like so long, right? Before we just start kind of
mine gets shorter throughout the day.
Or we're like doing multiple things and we're not super focused. So it's like that 5 minutes, whether sometimes I like just get up, sometimes I dance, sometimes I make tea, sometimes I like thumb through Instagram or whatever it is, but you can do anything you want for that 5 minutes. And then you do it 4 times. And then you get an hour after that, like 4 blocks of 25 minutes. I have
doing those dance videos. By the way, I missed those. Not to be weird about it, but every time people don't realize I watch like all my reels and I watch through all those. So those little dance videos, they're a perk up. I think we need to see more dancing.
We'll be back with them. I just hired another girl today. She did her first community strength training class. It was so lovely to see. These are like the moments that I live for. Like this is why I know like that I'm a boss. Right? It's training people, it's mentoring people, it's watching them grow. And it was just great. I got to watch her come into like herself, and she had so much fun teaching. And we do our community classes are donation based. So we donated her classes that she's doing she's donating to a Brave Space Alliance, which is basically a safe space. It's located on the south side of Chicago, and it's for like LGBTQ and like building a safe space for that. So yeah,
that sounds like
those
cool
are the moments.
Sounds cool. Yeah.
Can you put that in the comments if you don't mind?
Yeah. Can you put that? Yeah.
If you drop that in the LinkedIn comment, I'll go ahead and put that up on the screen. I'm going to put a few up too. Damon, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry, guys, I've been kind of slack on the comments there. I was really kind of listening to these ladies.
Yeah.
Deb, I kept you quiet for a little bit. Anything you want to talk to?
Yeah, we started talking about businesses, and then I wish I had you, Deb. Though I will say that much. When I bought my business, well, you wouldn't have approved. It was a failing business, so you don't sell failing businesses, but I bought a failing business.
Oh, your yoga.
I knew I was buying a failing business. It wasn't like I was in the dark or anything about it. Although
that's that confidence I know you for. That's what screws you. Don't worry, I bite off more than I can chew all the time too.
Oh, so, yeah. You know, and I had a business
finance
partner.
This, if you don't mind me asking.
Did I finance it? No. I had a business partner and we were 50-50. And yeah, that was an interesting ride for like a year and a half. I bought him out July 17th of 2019. My business skyrocketed. We had like 132 members right before we went into the pandemic. So it was a great, I don't know, he probably weighs like 175 pounds that I lost. Wow. But, you know, not black and white. Like there was some great things that he contributed and that I learned from. But, you know, when somebody's not in it, especially when you're a 50-50 partner, like.
No, he was a man, right? And he was.
He still is, I think.
Well,
but yes, he was.
Well, we never know nowadays. And we're not judging. But what I'm saying is, do you feel as a business partner that he would have treated you differently if you were a man?
Hell yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. Like it was really? Horrifying. It was actually that's a very good question that you asked because it was a very abusive situation. I mean, I was in they're deep in therapy for that. And I thank my therapist to this day, because I was talked to, like, at one point he goes, when we were having a conversation, we're sitting in the instructor lounge, 2 classes are going on, and he's screaming basically. And these are both, like, one of them is a girlfriend of mine. Like, she teaches for me, but still very close friend. Another girl was like, just, I mean, amazing. But also, like, I had a relationship with all these women, you know, and
all the clients and everybody.
yeah. And and Danielle, I will never forget it. She walks in and she goes, can you please, like, keep it down? We can hear you in the studio. Now, mind you, music is going, our walls are padded, and he's screaming that loudly that people.
Well, what? I have to ask this. I really have to ask
you are,
this.
because I was about ready to.
I have to ask this. He's a business partner, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, were you guys like in a relationship where he really felt that he could talk to you like that? Like, no. I mean, I'm not.
See, I mean, no. I had to bring this up, or this conversation.
He had some mental health issues, and unfortunately at the time it was something that, like, I was, you know, my boundaries weren't as great as they needed to be.
Oh, but you didn't know your worth.
Well, see, no, doctor, that's the point, right? Not only does she, well, here's the thing, right? Most people aren't look, Dr. Yvonne, you're an immigrant, right? And you're a black lady, and you're a smart black lady, and you don't take crap from nobody, right? I know that.
Yeah, well, I take crap. I do take crap. I'll be honest. I take it from my kids, but I have great kids, but they're still people. So that means they have their own flaws or whatever. I take it from them. I definitely take it from my parents, right? I mean, you know what I do? I disappear, right? Because I'm not going to sit there and seriously disrespect my parents. I just disappear. But yeah, I take it from them. And then, you know, when you're in a marriage, both of you freaking take it from each other. Hopefully, at least it's not like super abusive on either end. Yeah. But, you know, you're not going to sit. The way that you treat a person out there is not how you treat the people inside. So I do take crap. I do. But the difference is from whom. And see, before I didn't have, I'm sorry?
Deposits and withdrawals, like how many deposits are in your bank account, right? Because look, if you've been making deposits with me, like you've been, you know, paying attention to my love language, you've been giving me my words of information or affirmation, you've been giving me that quality time, right? You've been truthful with me, you've been building up, making deposits, right? You can get away with a lot more crap, right? But if you're some dude in 7-Eleven, you just poke me in the nose. Well, you don't got a bank account with me, buddy. So that's a massive withdrawal. And well, you know, we're gonna bounce. For
real. And that's exactly, you know, where it is. But yes, I am not the kind of person that takes a lot of crap from anybody.
I'm never been like a chauvinist dumbass here for a second, but I'm gonna say what I was originally gonna say, right? And we're just gonna see where the chips fall, right?
Okay.
Reyna's a white chick. Right. Mm-hmm. She grew up in a white chick. She'd never been married, right, Reyna? Never, you know, never been there, right? Nope. And so you haven't developed some of those relationships in some ways, right? So you're not accustomed to some jerk off coming at you at 100 miles an hour, like it's something you're not accustomed to. Like when you,
I wouldn't say that I'm not accustomed to it. I would say that actually I had more experience with it than I should have. Because I didn't learn lessons that I needed to learn. And that comes from family, that comes from not, you know, like, so unfortunately what we do is we relive our like
trauma.
Your trauma until you learn from it. So like if you have a caregiver that wasn't there for you in certain ways, and like, I love both of my parents dearly. It's not their fault. It's like they learn from their parents. There's lineage, right? Like,
there's no book. Yeah,
exactly. So there's lineage, like their parents' parents.
Right? So many different things are getting a little bit different nowadays.
Culture,
because of technology and information.
So but the beauty of it was like it stopped there. I was like, okay, I'm done. And he actually, I think I know he's married. I don't know if he has kids. I don't stay in contact with him. Obviously, the woman that he married she's a counselor, like a vet counselor. So like, things of that nature where I remember, and he said this to me, and I remember us chatting briefly about this, Mike, but he was yelling because he owns a digital marketing company, and he was yelling at his partner in that. And I was like, why are you yelling at him? Like, and he's like, oh, don't worry. I would never talk to you like this. And the funny thing, fast forward, when he's screaming at me in front of his partner, and he's like, I never talked to her like that. And I just looked at her and I'm like, you have no idea what's about to come to you. But it was tough.
Isn't it crazy how people just never change their stripes though? They just go.
That was one of my mom's statements.
A narcissist too.
Oh, and exactly. And
misogynist, narcissist. He was
all.
He
called me that when we tried to, so he tried to take me to court over the weekend. Like, he was like, you need to have this done by this date. It was like a Sunday. And of course, I call my lawyer and he's like, oh, he's bluffing, whatever. That Monday, he sent out an email to all of my instructors telling them he is like, he's getting rid of the business, that if they decide to work for me, they're going to be working for free because there's no money and all these things.
So he slandered you.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Did you sue him?
I wanted to be done with it. So I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
Out of the business divorce. So that was good. And then I just wiped my hands of it and I was like, I'm out.
Good for you.
I'm
like karma. Karma will take care of you.
I'm like, I don't want to deal with it. And, we were friends and we worked together in the digital industry because I have a social media company. He has a digital marketing company, and very smart guy. Unfortunately, from a mental health perspective, I remember that time when he was yelling at me too. He was like, oh, he kept being like, repeat after me.
Oh God.
Reyna. He goes, Reyna.
When they start asking you to talk third person to yourself,
you're third person. He was like, so
Yeah.
Josh does this and Josh doesn't want to do that. And Josh doesn't want to do this. And I was like, what are you?
I've dealt with a few of those people. They're fun.
I'm like, wherever he went, he's not in this room. So I'm not going to say anything until you bring him back in this room. And then he was like, repeat after me. And I'm like, what? And he goes, I, Reyna, am the reason why this business is failing. And I was like, who are you? And what is wrong with you? All sorts of wrong things. I was like, I'm done. This conversation is over. We're done. Good luck. And yeah, it was a very interesting experience that I'm glad that I got to go through because I learned a lot and it helped me so much from a perspective of having boundaries. But yeah, that was my business partner buying ordeal in a nutshell.
And just knowing a little bit about you and your personality and learning a little bit about what you do now with women around you in your community, I think it's awesome that you went through that because you're going to be teaching other boundaries day in and day out just through your classes, and just even sharing. I'm glad we have this chat just because you shared that with people. And there might be somebody who's watching who's like, you know what, I'm taking a lot of crap from this guy and I have no reason to.
Get out. Even if you think that there's no way, there is always a way. Like, I was like, what if I lose my business? I'm like, we're 50-50. And he fought me. I mean, he's like, I went and got these lawyers and they're on Michigan Avenue and all these things. And I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean, Ira, it's tough. I've been told there's two reasons why you take on a partnership. One is that they have knowledge and they have a compatible skill set. Two is that they have money that you don't have. And that's really it. I think Warren Buffett or something was talking about it. He's like, there's legitimately two reasons. And if they don't fit into either one of those buckets, sayonara. He was a compatible skill set because we both had money for the business. So, and I'm not, and he definitely had a great skill set. That I'm not saying, there is no black and white when it comes to that. But nobody deserves to take any sort of crap from somebody like that. Like, you were supposed to lift people up. You're supposed to be in this. You're supposed to be in the trenches together. You're supposed to be building something. And if it's not fun, and I'm not saying it's fun all the time, but if it's not fun, if it's not a journey, if you can't laugh about it, hit the road. Done.
100%.
There's
So
no reason, life is too short.
I want to say I've been listening to Reyna a lot, and it sounds to me, and I'm just going to put this real quick because when things come to me, I just say them, I talk. It sounds to me that some of the challenges that you faced in that partner, you attracted in your regular life. And because you attracted in your regular life, you already, you already sanctioned it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's how, wherever attention goes, energy flows.
Yep.
So that is what you attract to you.
Oh,
So,
I love that line, by the way.
Oh, where attention goes, energy flows. It's a huge line, yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
it's true. And so until, and then you also said, learned my lesson. So where I'm going with that is that you're beginning to understand what life lessons are and why they're repeated. And that unless you deal with that, unless you deal with that, you're going to be forced to repeat it
over and over
and over and over again.
Yeah.
And
you don't learn it,
you'll
learn it somewhere else.
Right.
And
we all get caught.
It'll keep reappearing. It'll be just a different, it'll be whether it's a business partner, whether it's a, whether it's a partner in life, whatever it is. And I've learned a lot of those lessons, and I can say it's much more beautiful on the other side. I'm not saying that I've learned all the lessons. I have so much more to learn, right? We all do. That's our life journey. But I definitely will say that I've learned a lot of those lessons, and it feels good to be on the other side. But that's where I try to impart my knowledge, like you said, Dr. Yvonne, and help people and talk to people about this, because I have zero shame when it comes to it. It's just, if I can help somebody through something that maybe they're going through, or maybe prevent somebody from doing something, then it's a winning situation to me, because I know that I've learned those lessons, and it does feel really good to be on the other side of it. And people ask me oh, do you still talk to him or whatever? And I'm like, no. And they're like, you just don't even. I'm like, I've honestly, unless I'm telling the story, he doesn't even come into my brain. Unless it's something,
you see, you had to take a while to get there. And when you're getting there, thank you, Ken. And when you're getting there, what happens is that you begin to understand and realize that started in the beginning, and you can't choose your parents. And see, you did a caveat. You said, I had good parents, and they learn it from
their best.
But their best. That tells me, and you got to understand, you don't know what I do yet. So what that tells me is that was your first experience. And through that being your first experience, that's all you knew. So you carried that with you. And in carrying that with you, you then attracted or seeked out. And by the way, there were people that were sent to you that were treating you better, but because you didn't believe in yourself and that you were worth it, you allowed them to go.
I almost want to ask you to say that again.
Yeah,
and
it's true. She's
you
right.
came in with these other people. So when you talk about you've learned your lesson in the other side, you're talking about going through the dark night of the soul. When you go through the dark night of the soul, that is the hardest lessons, because you have to literally tell yourself all these negative things that you've been hiding or walking away from, or trying to take it, to another level by not doing the work. But when you start doing the work, everything else starts coming to you. And then the spotlight where you're supposed to be, and I'm going to go back to Mike's comment about shining, it then becomes a reality for you, because then you are taking on what you were supposed to take on in the beginning.
Yep.
So you're still going through dark night of the soul, but the beauty of it is that you can now help other people that are on the beginning journey. I don't know where you are in your journey, but si eso no me importa. Si eso no me importa. So, you know, whatever your journey is, right? You then are compromising in your mind where your next step is. But
that is such a powerful statement. That's one thing we all do. And I have to tell myself 1,000 times a day, Mike, don't be that kid doing those bad habits. You know, that right there is just 100% golden stuff.
It's mindset.
Mindset. Yeah.
And what was the first thing, Reyna, when you came on here and Mike and I were talking, one of the first words out of your mouth was the mind. I mean, you can go back. I don't know if this is taped, but if you go back, your reference was the mind. Now, what that means is you're still learning, you know, where to place that. But what you don't understand is you have to have blind faith. It's not for you. Yes, we were given freedom of choice, right? But our journey is predetermined. It is the roads in which you take the journey. That is your freedom. That is the freedom that you're guaranteed of choice if you believe in the higher power. You know, not everybody believes in the higher power. So, you know, this is just going to those people that believe in the higher power, which I do. So, and I don't care what you call the higher power, just as long as you recognize that you or nobody else or nothing else would be here without that higher power. For me, it's God, right? So what you're actually testifying right now, and the words that you're saying is going to help someone who tuned in here that's actually going through what you just shared.
Yeah. And
now,
that's what I want, right?
I gotta go close my door because they said I'm talking too loud.
Hey, you're just getting she's passionate. She's passionate, right? She had a moment. She had to call that out. And yeah, I mean, she's right. When it comes to that, you don't see light without dark. And those moments were some of the toughest moments, you know, beyond my parents, like going through their divorce and learning about my parents individually, right? It was like those learning lessons. You have to make friends with like that dark side. You have to understand it. You got to get into it. You got to know it. You got to like understand it in and out and be like, okay, this is what I'm capable of, right? This is what's happening. This is what this is. But honestly, I wouldn't have had it any other way. I don't have any regrets when it comes to any of that. And it is. It's like coming out on the other side. You also mentioned something about attracting that. And that's true because we continuously attract it until we learn that lesson, right? And know our worth. So now that's something that I'm like, oh, and it's very interesting because I have much different conversations. And when I'm talking to somebody that's either going through it or hasn't gone through it yet, I'm like, whoa. Okay. I'm like, I've been there. I've seen this. Like let me page back to that part of my story in that chapter, you know, I'm like, you just have to understand that until we decide that we know our worth and we know where we're, you know, what we deserve and how we deserve to be treated, you're just going to keep going that direction. And so I am very basically thankful that it happened. And once again, it just has allowed me to kind of to pave where I'm going now. Right. And the journey is our choice.
Well, you see, what's going to happen is, and believe this. So my story is, everybody's story is bad for them or, you know, expressive for them, whatever their life is.
Right.
But there was so much relearning that I had to do. And I had to realize that it's not always the people on the outside that want to see you fail. It's those people on the inside that you thought because they were blood or because you grew up with them or whatever the combination was, right?
Oh, you're so on the money right now, though. It's so true. I was watching a video about that, actually, just one tidbit of information talking about friends, right? Because we are the 5 people closest to us. And there's like it's a proverb, like, show me who your friends are and I'll show you who you are. And then there was something on there was a consultant that, like, for a business that I go do consulting with, like, they consult for people in the industry, like in the fitness industry. They're a couple, and the woman goes, she was talking about it, and she's like, this is how you choose your friends. If you're out and your friends are talking about, it's one thing to bring up, the good old days or whatever every now and then. But if that's all that they can talk about, and you're not talking about what you're doing now, any ideas, where you want to be, what your future is, then she's like, you're
in the wrong crowd.
Yeah,
you're in the wrong crowd. And if you're the smartest one in the room, you're also in the wrong crowd.
Well, I mean, those people sound like they get along with Deb here too, because that's kind of what she does. Is she helps? I mean, just by the nature of her job, she's always talking to people about doing something better or something down the road. And I think,
you're like, your job is all ideas all the time, right?
Well, I mean, like, her job is to find people that are inspired to do something else, right?
Yeah. It's got to be fun.
Yeah.
So then you're dealing a lot with people that are in their like mid ages, right? People that have had a career, and
yeah, I would say 30s, 40s, even 50s, 60s. I mean, not young, not right out of school, but anywhere from 30 to 70 people are buying businesses. But going back to our histories and such, I'm just listening because it's like, wow. I grew up never really, my parents were divorced, and I grew up not being complimented. I just had a mom that was very
I understand it.
And
okay, so now I'm putting back my glasses.
She never complimented me. So I grew up not knowing what my weakness was from living in that. And through my early years of my career, I could never say no to people because I tried everything to please them.
People pleasing.
Pleaser.
That's my mama. That's my mama. Yeah, and that's what I learned. So
well, I think that's probably why we're all getting along so well, is because compliments weren't easy to come by. I don't mean dive too much into personal stuff, right? And you can answer or not answer, right? But I think a lot of that has to do with parents that like to drink. That's just the case. Is that and people ask me like why I don't drink much, and I'm not going to say just because of my parents, but because it runs in the family, and I owe a lot of apologies to a lot of people for the things I've done while I'm drinking too. So I mean, like, if there's one thing that should have been legal a long time ago, it's weed. Because I mean, I think that alcohol and alcoholism, it makes a strong impact on people, and just with my experiences, not only with those issues myself, but just from being on doctors' couches like Dr. Yvonne here and listening to people talk to me, I can almost recognize how people's parents were just by how they behave within like minutes. You know what I mean? So like, there's a reason why we all got together in this chat. I felt like we would have a good chat. I felt like we'd relate. I didn't realize that.
Well, my parents personally, especially my dad. So I, once again, love him dearly. He knows that, and it's, but agreed. It's, I don't think that we talk about it enough, that like, and it's now just coming to the surface more, that like alcohol is, poison. And
that's why people chase words of affirmation, because we always want what we don't get. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just what it is. So if you grow up and you're not getting those attaboys or attagirls, right, you're going to chase that from somewhere else. Right. And the sad truth is, and it took me a lot of abusive relationships before I start to realize, hey, maybe it isn't me. Maybe it really is them. Right. But then I reflect back. I'm like, no, it is me, because like Dr. Yvonne was saying earlier, is I was asking for it because I allowed it, because I was chasing something that wasn't getting easily.
Right? I want to change your language. I want to change your language there. I need to change your language there. Remember, when we speak things, we speak it into our lives. But no one is ever asking for another person.
100%. Same thing with the Russian Ukraine.
No, you weren't asking for anything.
100%.
You weren't.
You're allowing it though, because
you do allow it. because I allowed a lot of things.
Thank you for correcting me. Not only just for correcting me on that, right? But because by stopping the conversation in that moment and making sure that people realize that we do have to change that language.
The wording.
That wording
Words
is very
are powerful.
And here's the thing, like if you're not open to constructive criticism or to somebody saying, hey, you could have said that better, or you could have listened a little bit more here, or maybe you should have shut up there, right? You're going to keep making those same mistakes.
It's like basically my relationship. What do you mean?
But it's like, see, that becomes self-defecating, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we have to watch what we say about ourselves. You see,
oh yeah,
when we're growing up, okay, here we go. When we're growing up,
it's the whole thought, whatever, right? No, here we go.
When we're growing up, right? Yeah. We get our cues, we get our behaviors, all of that we get from what we see. Okay. It might have been alcoholism, might be, divorce. Those weren't some of the things that I had to deal with, but I had to deal with other things, and controlling. So when you're sitting there and they're saying, okay, you could breathe now, that's what I'm talking about. Okay. And being a girl, it's a whole different level, like being a girl and being a boy, right? In almost every society. Here you go. Can you see it? Being a girl and being a boy. But here was the difference for me. My dad raised me like a son. So I had the tool belt at age 11. I was the one under the car changing the oil. I was the one learning how to hang walls. And, then it wasn't drywall, though. It was that other stuff, that stuff that every basement had, paneling.
Yeah. Paneling.
But then, and he used to tell me, do not wait for a man to pay for things. You can do it yourself. You don't need a man. My father used to say this, and my father wouldn't allow my mother to work. Okay. So I'm telling you what I was taught and what I saw.
Okay? That is so
yeah.
I have so many questions.
Okay. There's three girls. There's 3 girls in my family, right?
Yeah.
I was the only one that he talked to like that. Now, he did say that. Okay, I'll get to that in a minute. But the fact that I was like, okay, I'm not going to go in the kitchen. I'll clean up after you guys cook. I don't have a problem cleaning, but I'm not going to cook, right? That's not me. I don't want to do that, right? So my father would say to my mother, oh, leave the girl alone. And then he would say, come on over here. Let's watch, football, basketball. When I got to a certain age, crack open a beer. The women would be in the kitchen cooking and the men would be on the couch, right? Yes. Oh, see? And so my message was a little bit different, right? But then you get out there in society and they still try to put you in that box. And then when you start saying, okay, look, back it up. That's not me. Then you're a problem. You're mean. You're evil. You're this, you're that. No, that's you. So my point was, when you grow up, people are going to tell you who you are. Oh, you're always fussing. Oh, you cry too much. Oh, stop complaining. Oh, you smile too much. Oh, too much teeth. Oh, you're not pretty. So those messages hit you, they hit you, and you begin to believe that. But when you go through the dark night of the soul, you realize that was their own problems, right? And I see that.
My dad wished he had a son. It's funny listening to you.
You've got to relearn who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had somebody tell me, somebody that I think is trying to take advantage of my mom. But anyway, I had somebody tell me 3 times, right? Because there was something that this person did. And if my father was alive, that person would not have been able to do that. All right. And especially when it came to my mother. All right. Anything to do with my mother, not even the kids could say he'd kill one of us. All right. You can't say that was his little girlie. All right. And anyway, so this person, right, did something I didn't like, and I didn't get upset. I called them and I asked them to meet me for coffee, well, tea for me. And I asked what I asked nicely, didn't cuss, didn't scream, didn't public place, whatever.
That's probably
all right. The next day I go to see my mom, which happened to be on my birthday, right? He gets my mother upset, right? And literally lies and said that I said something that I did not say. And if it hadn't been for my husband being there, hearing this, because he came only because he didn't want me to go by myself, right?
Goodness,
so he's like, I'll go with you. Right.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't, So anyway, we went, and if my husband hadn't been there, my mother would not have believed me. Like, she doesn't believe, I'm her kid, so she doesn't believe me.
Isn't it wild? Isn't it just wild?
So she didn't believe me. And so after she realized that he actually was lying, right? He jumped on and tried to correct himself or whatever. But in 3 different instances, he said,
grown ass people.
Yes, grown ass. Okay.
Grown ass.
And he said to me in 3 different instances, why do you think you can intimidate people? On the 3rd time he said that, I said to him,
5 cage fighter. You intimidated
right.
the crap out of me.
I said to him, oh, I'm not even yelling.
Oh, that's why.
So that tells me you're intimidated by me. That's your problem. You deal with it.
Yeah.
She's got that look in her eyes that says, I'm not the one.
I'm not the one. I'm anointed. God has anointed me. So if you, and the thing is, I had to learn that a long time. I had to learn the things that I know now. I had to learn them. But I am anointed, and I don't have a problem saying that. I see what I see, and sometimes it comes out and sometimes it doesn't. But I listen. I don't talk just to hear myself talk. I talk when I have a reason. Mm-hmm. But when someone projects on you, that's when you realize that it's their problem.
That's when you should realize. That's when most of us don't realize. Yes. That's when we should. That's the big red waving flag that so many of us have missed time and time again. And if we get one thing right in this show, we got one person out there, because we know a lot of us are missing those flags, right? There's one person right now that's going to see a red flag they didn't see an hour or so ago.
Good.
Right.
Take off those rose-colored glasses. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, it is what it is.
Not those ones. I like those ones.
You got to stop doing the glasses thing.
The theoretic.
Look, You kind of remind me of that little old Ukrainian lady I saw on the news that was standing there in front of the Russian tank, right? That little Ukrainian lady standing there in front of the tank. She said, "What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You got to
for real."
But you know what? Though? What you can do? Run over an old lady in the street with the tank? Like that lady, that old lady with that camera watching her has more power than those guys in that tank. Because you know why? They went around her ass. She didn't move a muscle, but they went around her. You know what I mean? So, there's a lot of truth in that person who's going to take down those glasses and just look at you. And in that moment that, hey, I might be able to take Dr. Yvonne in a wrestling match, but she's got truth on her side and she's got that power. Like, she's got a lady standing in front of the tank. No, I'm going to go around that, or I'm going to acknowledge it and back the hell up.
Mm-hmm. Or I'm going to pick up a chair.
Also, the chair. Yes, there you go. Figure it out.
It's a wrestling match. I didn't mean WWE.
There's going to be a chair somewhere.
Yeah, I already know you're right, lady.
So Ira talks about a frog in a pot and how you give people the benefit of the doubt and likely take more than crap than you should because of it. But have you ever heard of the boiling frog theory?
No.
Does anyone?
No, please educate us.
So when we're talking about like abuse and things like that, so there's a frog in water. And they slowly start to like raise the temperature of the water until the water is boiling, right? And the frog eventually dies because he's like,
he's trying to adapt.
Yes. So That's what they call abuse, because it happens so slowly.
They chip away.
They just chip away. And then eventually, right, we're this shell of ourselves,
And
right?
it can happen to anybody. I mean, I was a 6'5" cage fighter, right? That was really comfortable at punching any grown man that was also training to kill people. Right.
Wait, you're 6'5"?
I'm 6'5", and I'm a scrapper. Like, you know what I mean? So if a few years ago, somebody
He's a tall dude. He's a tall dude.
if somebody said a few years ago that somebody would, you know, bust you down to the point to where you do things outside your character or out of fear-based, you know, thinking, right?
Yeah.
I would have been like the ego inside that fighter Mike 7 years ago. You know, I would have puffed up my chest and be like, what are you talking about? I'm the big O. You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't have happened. And like what Reyna says is like you learn a lot about yourself. And I think the biggest thing is that I learned personally is that not only can this happen to anybody, like no matter where you're at in life, you're one bad day away from being that homeless guy, right? Or that guy with nobody around you, right? It doesn't matter how many followers you have. It doesn't matter how much money you have. I mean, take Steve Jobs, for example. When he got sick, all that money, all that power felt worthless to him. And he basically told the whole world, like, look, he didn't really come out and say it, but everybody that really listened to what he was saying and how he was saying it, there was a lot of regret there. I have no regrets on my arm long before the commercial. I'm old, right? So it was long before the no regrets commercial. And I got the no regrets, not because I don't have any regrets, but it's kind of like what Dr. Yvonne was saying earlier, or Reyna was saying earlier about the friends that are always talking about the past or talking about those moments and they're not living toward the future, right?
It's like walking into Champs.
I have the no regrets tattoo, right? To remind myself to be present, to hang out with the Debbie Curtises that are going to inspire people to go out and do things that nobody told them they could do, to hang out with the Dr. Yvonnes that are going to give people the power to say, what the hell are you putting up with that for, right? Or the power to, you know, put up or to talk to Reyna and have her, you know, just be that inspiring story of somebody that got up again and shares
very
it.
inspiring.
And, like, really, you know, look, you're not that guy who's like, hey, Mike, I wanted to tell you, you know, on the side, like you came out, you know, thousands of people are going to watch this. Like, people don't realize that this isn't just my LinkedIn network. It's not just Facebook or YouTube. Like, I'm going to put a little money in this and spread it around a little bit, right? So, you know, thousands of people are going to say this, right? And I don't know how to tell you, like, you got balls, lady. You got major balls. I respect you. I don't know how else to say that. Like, I'm a meathead. So I'll try, ladies, to figure out a better way to say that.
As long as
Quiones. You can say Quiones. You have
What did Betty White say about balls? She's like, why are balls tough? Why do we talk about like having balls?
Well, I got yelled at last time I brought up vagina on LinkedIn Live, so I'm not going to do that.
Well, R.I.P. Betty White, but she said, you know, it's the vagina that takes the pounding, so that's why.
I'm glad somebody.
I'm just quoting Betty White. You know, she was almost 100.
You know, she did good. You know,
she was amazing. She was ahead of her time.
Give us back Betty White.
Did you really on that note, that takes the pounding?
She does.
I'm sorry. Okay.
It's weekend. We can get away with a little bit more stuff. Nobody's watching us anymore anyway, I don't think.
Really? Aw, they should be. We're
I'm kidding. People are watching. They want to hear.
So back to Deb, because Deb was talking about.
Deb. Yeah, please.
This is what happens when you get a panel of people, and then we just start talking about boiling frogs and Betty White. So carry on.
Yes, Deb. Sorry.
I don't even know where we're at anymore.
You were saying that your family, like, it was tough because you weren't getting like the compliments. You weren't told the compliments growing up. Sure. Your parents were divorced as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So just saying, I guess when I was working in my younger years, I always wanted to try to do everything I could to be the best to hear the compliment. You know, I was always in sales, and it's kind of sad that corporate America will send out a stack of how everybody's performing on sales, but there's more to just the sale behind it all. But I never heard compliments if I was like number 4, number 5 out of 20. You know, only like the top 3 got all the compliments. So I guess the moral of my story is, growing up, I didn't get the compliments. So then I'm always, damn it, trying hard to get to the top. And then when I get to the top, I get compliments, and it's just hard to accept it then. Isn't that crazy? I don't know.
When did you realize? When did you realize that you that you don't need outside compliments? When did you realize that?
That I don't need them?
Yeah. Do you need them? Do you need compliments?
Here's what I want to say. I struggle when I get compliments. That's the issue, Dr. Yvonne.
So again, this goes back to worthiness. I don't know. Women have this issue. We have an issue. I'm not playing. And I don't care where you're from or nothing like that. The women that I'm working with right now, the refugees in Uganda, these are women that survived genocide from the Sudan and Zimbabwe and some other places. And then Uganda brought them in. And then Uganda found out that they had AIDS. So they kicked them out of the main city and they made compounds for them. But a lot of these women are formally educated. Some of them are artisans. I mean, they're like, first of all, they're warriors, right? Because their husbands were murdered and stuff in front of them, and they were raped, and and then their children saw this, right, and had nowhere to go, and so this country took them in. So I have been following. I follow and I watch, and then I decide whether I'm going to do something. Following this ministry for a couple of years, then I finally decided to open communication, and I needed to prove to myself, and because I have license to do certain things, including background checks and all of that, I made sure before I got involved that they were legit, right? Anyway, long and the short of it is that these women, it all comes down to self-worth. And that's and then that boils down to mindset. And when I asked you, Deb, just now, do you still need it? Do you see how long you waited to ask? I mean, to answer? So that is, yes, I do. I strive for that. So then it becomes, okay, now you know that. How do we get around that? And how quickly or how slowly do you want to move? See, it's determined on you. You understand? And until you decide, right, that I've had enough of this, right? Enough of being like this, enough of seeking. You have everything you need inside of you. And until you begin to realize that that's the only confirmation you need. You don't need confirmation from anybody else, because everybody else is either going to be for you or against you or somewhere in the middle. And they're never going to give you what you need because you're seeking for something that is outside of you. You're the only one that needs to know, how are you doing?
Dr. Yvonne, you have a podcast, right?
Yeah.
What's the name of that podcast?
Okay, God, Dr. Yvonne.
Dr. Yvonne. Well, that's great.
So I'm branding myself, right? I brand myself. Like I help businesses brand. We never got to talk about what I do, but maybe next time we can, because we're running out of time. But part of what I do, you can honestly see part of that. And that was not intentional, by the way. That's why I told you I'm anointed, because I am a legal business consultant. My background is law. I've opened over 25 startups, but I've also streamlined many, many businesses. I do branding. Obviously, there's some digital marketing there. My degrees range all in business. But, practical knowledge sometimes outweighs degrees, right? You cannot look down on a person who does not have a degree to a person that might say have 5 to a person that is cleaning the floor in the school you're in,
Yeah, 5
to
degrees.
the teacher that's, the professor that's sitting there telling you about his accolades. You can't look down and you can't judge other people, right? Who are you? The last time I realized it, you weren't my God. You're not. So all of it is within you. Everything. But it took me so many years, you guys. So many years to get to that point. And then you get inside your head. You start questioning yourself. Well, did they really say that? Well, why did they say that? Oh, they gave that to me. Oh my God, thank you so much. Well, why did they give that to me? Was it something I did? And then you break it apart. And then the beauty of what you were just gifted has now just been crumbled because you can't just accept it.
And do you think that the reason that you can't just accept it, why do you think that is? Do you think because it's
your worth?
Conditioning.
Because your worth? Okay.
Yeah, and it has to do obviously with
people have been chipping away long enough to where you don't feel like you deserve it. You feel like the other person, there's power in the way they treated you. There's power in the things they said about you. Like Deb is a grown-ass adult too, right? And Dr. Yvonne asked her a direct question, and she was trying to give us a truthful and powerful answer. And in doing so, like, she actually had to think about it for a second.
Yeah.
And the sad part is that's all of us. The difference between myself and maybe Dr. Yvonne and some other people, and I think Reyna's been asking herself this more so, is when you go through enough crap and you have people you're lucky enough to have people around you to help you understand what you're going through, right? Like I went through years of therapy. Like I didn't just like learn this stuff because like I'm smart, I learned this stuff because I wanted to. Like I put effort into like searching, like not only to like, look, we all get information from many different sources, right? And I'm a big fan of trust and verify. I show this in my line of thought on SEO, business, networking, everything else, right? Trust but verify. I open the door. I let anybody come into the party, right? But if you're a bad guest, I'm going to be the first person to do the Jazzy Jeff. You got to go, right? That doesn't mean I'm not going to, close the door to everybody. Everybody can come because you never know who's going to bring the best bean dip. You know what I mean? But like, you just got to be prepared to Jazzy Jeff a few people. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way it is. And you can go in life, through life with closed doors, or you can go through life, with an open door policy, which I try to do, right? But if you have the open door policy, you have to be aware that some people are going to be putting their feet on your couch when you're not looking. They're going to be going through your fridge. They're going to be going through your drawers, right? And as you grow, unfortunately, like I'm hoping, okay, that conversations like this, not just on my show, but on other people's streaming events, I hope that, we inspire people to think and act differently, even in small ways. Like if Deb gets off of this and she has this conversation with 3 or 4 other women, and then Reyna's like, hey, I'm going to go talk about what Dr. Yvonne said to 3 or 4 other women, right? And God forbid the people are watching us still, or you decide, hey, we're going to take some of this information and think differently and act differently and then spread it around. I mean, this is how we change the world. People are like, oh, one person can't change the world. I strongly disagree with that. You can't. Like I've had so many impactful moments in my life from people that I'll never see again. They've been dead for 40 years, right? And that's the point, is you never know when it's that young man or that old person that's talking to the kid that's going to give you that lifelong impact. And there's different ways you can do about it. We can either chip away at people, or we can add them up, right? Like the other day, my nephew's 6 years old, right? And I want to be a good uncle. I've had some good uncles. I've had some uncles that probably could have used a little bit of.
You could change that,
right?
You are a good uncle.
Well, I
you don't need to be. You are. You already are doing it.
I always try to be the good uncle, right?
No, you are a good uncle.
But we all have those moments, right? Where we're not the best uncle, or we're not in that moment. And he's 6 years old. Sometimes he does some annoying crap, right? So, like, for example, he's on this hoverboard, right? And he's banging into the walls, and then he's banging into the other stuff. He thinks it's hilarious, right? It's like, dude, you can't be doing that, man. Stop, right? I'm like, quit with the, banging into the walls. And so I turn around. Next thing I know is I hear, die, Spider-Man. And I turn around again, and he's running over his Spider-Man doll with his hoverboard. Oh. So not only are you breaking your Spider-Man doll, you're breaking your hoverboard, and you're scratching the floor up, right? So I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, I just yelled at a 6-year-old. I'm like that was a less than perfect uncle moment. You know what I mean? But like,
well, why is yelling at a 6-year-old bad? That's your blood. Like, I have a 3-year-old niece, and she's a feisty one. Like, I already know where this is going. And let me tell you, if she misbehaves, my sister's already given me permission to put her in her place. And like, not in a bad way, but in a way of where it's like, hey, cut that crap out. You don't need to be doing that. Like,
I come from a family of yellers. I come from a family.
I mean, my parents hit me. My dad hit me. My
I
mom
grew
hit
up to
me.
be a cage fighter. I
They
beat up
didn't hit
30 people on a
No, my
bar.
parents did.
People don't
No
do
hitting.
that unless they came from a violent home. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how many
My
people
father
know-
did not believe in that.
Huh?
My father did not believe in hitting.
My dad told me if somebody
Like,
punches you in the face, you
no.
kick the crap out of everybody watching. You know what I mean? Like, that's how we grew up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I don't want to make that impact on my nephew or anybody else, right? And don't get me wrong, I think everybody should learn how to defend themselves.
Sure.
But you shouldn't be teaching people anger. You shouldn't be able to teach people, like, so even in those moments of failure, like, look, I'm far from perfect, but I think I'm doing really good, and I'm proud of myself for acknowledging things I can do better. And my point here is, I hope that more people take the time to reflect on the fact that, like Dr. Yvonne said, none of us are God. You're not my God. You know what I mean? Like, we all poop. We all have upset stomachs from time to time. We're all going to have that one last day, right? And it's what we do during our days here that really determines our legacy. Our legacy isn't going to be determined by how much land we conquer or how many people we put will on or how much gold we leave with Mr. Putin. It's going to be how we affected people. You know what I mean? And let me tell you something. No matter what happens, I'm going to leave a better legacy than Mr. Putin because, he's a jerk.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that whole thing, like, I think I was telling you this, Mike, before we started the show. When I finally did have my first child, because I was a late mom, I was a career woman. And
when did you have your first child, if you don't mind?
I'm not going to answer that question. Unlike me, because then they'll do some calculations.
I'm just asking because I'm older, but you do not have to.
No, I'm older. I can guarantee it.
No,
but anyway,
I'm just an older woman and I haven't had children.
So you can have them. Because I was hit by a drunk driver.
Was like 55 or something.
I was hit by a drunk driver. The steering column went in my uterus.
Oh, jeez.
I was working on my master's.
Hold on, pick this up. You were hit by a drunk driver. Oh, and you were driving. You weren't walking.
I was driving.
Okay. Sorry.
And I was sitting at the light. We were four cars deep. And it was the last game that the last title that Michael Jordan won for us. It was that day, that night. And this guy had been sitting in the Hilton Hotel drinking from when he got off work at 3:00 in the afternoon till after the game, which was around 10:30.
Yeah.
He was drinking the entire time. The bar never cut him off. They never stopped him. After the game was over, he got in his car, and the hotel was on the corner of, Lincoln and Toohey in Skokie, or in Lincolnwood, the Purple Hotel, which was the Hilton. It was there at that time. And it was that hotel. So the light is right there. So we're 4 cars deep.
Not too terribly
far. And
far
comes out of the parking lot and literally hits my Toyota. I was at a light, so I was stopped and hit the top half of my car off the chassis, like literally. And I was in a seatbelt and everything. Jeez. Long and the short of it is, they told me when I was in the hospital before they did surgery that they would have to remove all of my female organs. And I was in my 20s, okay? And before marriage, before kid, any of that. Because I wasn't even looking to get married. Never wanted to get married. But anyway, it's another story. So I had the surgery, and then they said they got to go back in because they want to remove everything because it's not going to work. And I'm like, no, because I was a dancer, principal dancer, classical dancer for over 19 years. And I know my body. And I know that if they had taken out my female organs, I would have gone into early, what is it that you go into as a woman? Menopause in my 20s. So I said, no, let it sit there. Well, God had a different plan, because I have 3 children right now. All right. 3 children. So, the thing that I'm
all
trying to
because
make,
you're stubborn and you told the doctor no. Think about that.
Well, yes,
they're gonna rip out your lady parts, and you're like, nope, not today.
Well, because one of my fallopian tubes was blown right out. The other one was hanging like this because the steering column went into my uterus.
I don't have a fallopian tube, but if I did, I'd be really
No,
glad.
but that's very, think about it,
Well, no, I mean,
that's how the egg gets over to where it needs to go to get embedded in the
well,
uterus.
I understand that part.
Okay. But I
got that
one that was working, and it was working bad at that. Supposedly it was working like this, supposedly. Anyway, long and the short of it is that, don't stop. And don't let anybody tell you what you can and cannot do. I wanted to say something else, but I don't think I should say that right now. But don't stop. And always remember that you determine who you're going to be and who you are and who's going to be around you. And stop looking for people to compliment you on the work that you do, because you're good at what you do. And the main point that I wanted to make is also look at your environment. The environment that you're in represents your mind. If your environment is cluttered, so is your mind.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. I wanted to say something, but I don't think I should say it right now.
Well, I guess we got to follow the Dr. Yvonne podcast to get that information. You're not giving away.
Dr. Yvonne podcast.
She's using my own tactics against me, because I was like, don't give away the gold, ladies, before we get live here. So she's like, I'm not telling you all. You got to come and, subscribe to my podcast to get that. Yeah, I get you, Dr. Yvonne. I get you. I got you.
And my Patreon.
Huh?
And my YouTube.
Ladies, I really appreciate you guys all coming on and saying hi. I didn't do a really good job of asking you all about what you do and making it smooth like that way, but I feel like you guys just came with the thunder today and brought a lot of great stories and got a lot of great value out of this. I appreciate you all being in SPN and doing what you can to help others and inspire others. I am going to wrap this up because it's Saturday and we all got things to do. But I want to make sure that you ladies send me your websites and that your social media links that you want me to put into the YouTube description, because I am going to put that out there. So if there's any special message, like, hey, come subscribe to the Dr. Yvonne podcast, or, come see me at Studio Fit in Chicago, or, hey, if you want to buy a business or empower somebody that wants to buy a business, talk to Deb Curtis. I appreciate you all. I definitely want to chat with you all differently at different times again here in the future. And thank you guys all. Is there anything any of you would like to say?
I mean, I would love to connect and make sure that we can connect further so that we're all connected, since we got to have
I would love that too.
And just kind of impart wisdom and learn from one another. And thank you, Mike, for putting all of this together, because you never really know what's going to happen, but you put 3 awesome ladies, powerful women in a room, and look what you get. See,
it makes it it makes it easy if you get the right 3 people. And not to make it really weird, but the 3 of us live in Chicago, and not to exclude Deb, you can come when it's warmer, right? But we all got to go to the Winner Circle and ask them if we can film that experience sometime. I'm not a big hot dog guy, but it's in Chicago and they're fun. And I think it'd be great to meet up with you guys and go have a hot dog in the springtime here a little bit or something. What do you guys think?
That sounds good.
Yeah,
or a martini.
No government cheese for me.
Well,
hot dog, no, I'll drink a martini. Look, I don't drink in my day-to-day, right? But if Dr. Yvonne wants to sit down with my ass and have a martini, when in Rome.
Oh yeah, I'll have a glass of wine or something.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm an Uber driver, so I don't go bust up no fallopian tubes on my way home. You know what I mean? But drink and drive. No, don't drink and drive.
No
Drink
drinking and
responsibly.
driving.
No drinking
No.
and driving. Just say no to the drinking and driving. Excuse me.
Mike, I'll invite you over for those shrimp and some Jamaican food.
Don't
Wait,
say it unless
what?
you mean it, because I'll come get some shrimp. But then we might have to go to her studio fitness and do some side bends or sit-ups.
Yeah.
No, remember, I cook all healthy. I don't fry. I cook with a ton of herbs. I use a bunch of herbs. I'm an herbologist.
Okay.
So I do a lot of that. And the herbs that I use are for your health. So depending on what your health issues are, I
do all kinds of
deal
health
with the
issues.
herbs that way. Yeah.
So it's funny that you mentioned that. And it could be for another podcast, but I actually have hypothyroidism and I've helped that with herbs and stuff like that. So
you're bad with herbs?
No, I said I have hypothyroidism. So herbs have helped me from like an anti-inflammatory perspective. And like I actually
So you need turmeric and garlic.
Yep.
And you're gonna need bay leaf. Okay. Yeah,
Some
I know.
People just say they're a doctor. Other people prove it. Dr. Yvonne, I didn't get to ask you about your show. You were telling me beforehand you're going to have a cooking show on TV here soon?
Yeah. So a lot of people have been asking me to, if you guys haven't seen my Instagram, please go to it. I mix a lot of stuff on there. It's just an expression of me. But I only started cooking when I got married. I only wanted to cook for him. That was a little thing I was telling you about when I would.
I've never been so jealous so quick in my life. Just that one statement. I'm so jealous of your. I wanted to cook for him.
Just for him.
You learn how to cook.
I wanted to cook just for him. I was really, really in love. I was really, really in love. And I only cook for my family. Like I have one cousin.
What's his name? I'm gonna go listen to his podcast.
What's going on?
I want to hear what he has to say now. How did he get a woman to love him like that? I can't even get him to stop cheating on me. You learn how to cook shrimp like that? Jesus.
Oh my God. No, I'm not
This guy needs to write a book. How to get a woman to cook some shrimp that everybody wants. Like I would read that book.
Well, I would love you guys to pay to get on my Patreon channel. I'm trying to have a straight face, but I can't.
I hope you bring
not
that
with him. No,
I want to have a martini with that guy too. So when we go have this martini, I'm gonna wrap it up before I say more dumb stuff. But you guys were all a pleasure. We're totally gonna do the hot dogs and martinis with Dr. Yvonne and Mr. Dr. Yvonne.
I mean, I'm looking for the shrimp. I don't know about you.
Yvonne. Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Thank you, ladies. I hope you all have a good day. Everybody watching, thanks for the comments. I was having trouble going back and forth, technical issues that kept skipping, so I didn't want to skip the show, so I kind of ignored the comments a little bit. So I appreciate everybody keeping us alive on LinkedIn. Anyway, you guys all have a great weekend. Prayers to Ukraine, and thanks, guys. I'm cutting you off in 1, 2, 3, or 3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
Bye, ladies. Lovely.